My name is Nicole Crosby. I'm a senior brand manager for Swiffer and have been the commercial lead of this exciting innovation and launch that we have coming in that we're previewing here for the Swiffer Power Mop Wood. This device is not in stores yet, but will be in the next month. We're getting ready to launch it now, and we're previewing it here first, in large part because of the great partnership we've had with the NWFA over the last several years. Swiffer has been around since 1999, and so before I talk about this specific product in my hand and Chris walks through some of the great features that it has, I just wanted to take a minute and talk a little bit about the history and the legacy of the brand. Swiffer, as I said, was invented in 1999 and actually came out of consumer research for the Mr. Clean brand at Procter & Gamble. And it was a researcher for Mr. Clean that was trying to develop a better all-purpose cleaner for the mop and bucket, and was in a consumer's home talking and asking questions about what the cleaners were doing and what they weren't and what he needed. And the consumer looked him in the eyes and in this moment just said, look, if you actually want to know how to help me, I don't need some better cleaning soap. I don't need a better cleaner. I need a better way to clean my floors. This current way is just not working for me. And that's how Swiffer came to be. And where the brand originated from was reinventing the way the world cleans and really looking at how to improve the method and the process in addition to the cleaning agents. In 2003, Swiffer WetJet was born, the purple device in Chris's hand over here. It was teal at the time. I will say, having looked at a lot of iterations over 20 years since launch, it doesn't look that different today from the original launch in 2003. And so while we at P&G and in Swiffer like to talk, it feels like it's raining, like to talk a lot about how cool the product is. Swiffer still today is the only product to ever be featured on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. There's a 2003 November cover of Jessica Simpson in her underwear as the perfect housewife cleaning her floors with a Swiffer WetJet. The 23-year-olds today don't think it's the coolest thing they've ever seen. And we know 6 in 7 of them still clean the floors the way their mom's mom cleaned their floors. And that way for many, many people is with a mop and bucket. Hot water, your own liquid, your own solution, the vinegar, all of the things that ruin hardwood floors. And they're the ones that aren't buying Swiffer today and the ones that we're talking to in a lot of our marketing for Swiffer Power Mop. But we've learned a lot over the last several years through the NWFA's partnership, and I know it was probably 6 years ago now, what was that? Yeah, 2017, about 6 years ago now, we were at our first NWFA Expo after working with the team at NWFA to improve the product. And we made some great improvements to the Swiffer WetJet wood, and they weren't good enough. And so since 2016, our labs, our researchers have been in there trying to improve the whole device. And the first drawings I've seen were done in 2016, so it took a lot of years for us to get it right and to really be willing to launch this product. But it's a product that does clean as well as a mop and bucket, and hopefully you'll believe that by the end of the presentation today. But it does it smarter, it does it safely, and it does it in a way that any homeowner with any finished floor, and especially a hardwood floor, can be proud of. So with that, Chris, I'll let you talk a little bit more about the product itself.
Sure. Thank you very much, Nicole, and thank you all for being here. And I am a big fan of Jessica Simpson and Swiffer, so I don't mind talking. I still think it's very cool. Anyway, we're glad you're here. As Nicole just mentioned, 5 years of partnership with the NWFA have resulted in a lot of improvements over the Swiffer WetJet, and we want to share those with you. We like to think of it as a three-pronged cleaning system, and that system consists of the device itself, the solution, the cleaning solution that's in it, and of course the pad at the bottom. That's the business end where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. But in this case, it's not rubber, it's texture. We'll get into talk about all of those, and I'd like to start basically from the top down and run through some of these enhancements and features. I think you'll be very impressed. The first thing I want to tell you about the device is something you cannot see, you can only feel. Even when this is fully loaded with solution, it is almost a full pound lighter than the WetJet would. Now, the first time I was told about that, before I ever held the prototype, I thought, big deal. It actually is a big deal. I have to admit, the first time I used it, the usability is very much improved. I love the fact that it's lighter weight. I'm going to set this aside for just a moment because this is the hero device, and I'll come back to that. The solution, which I mentioned a moment ago, is actually the only thing that has not changed. It is still the same that you've come to know and love. It is pre-mixed. It is specially formulated to reduce streaking and hazing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. The trigger, the button, push button is up here in the handle where the thumb can get to it very easily. And you will notice the dual nozzle jets down at the bottom. I'm going to press the button up here at the top, and you will see an ultra fine mist come out onto the floor there. I don't know if the lights in the camera will pick it up, but you don't need a lot. Less is more. Those jets actually spray an ultra fine mist that coats super evenly. There is no pooling, no spreading, which is exactly what you want in this situation. Less is more. We only want to use as much solution as necessary, and then we want to get it up off the floor as quickly as possible. The nozzles also light up. You probably saw that. They have LED headlights, so that helps you see into dark spaces, corners, and around baseboards. But it also helps to prevent overspray as well, because now you can see exactly how much you're putting down. One extra innovation you may notice, I'm going to press the button one more time and watch those LED lights. I've released the button, but they stay on. They dim very slowly. That's an improvement based on feedback that we actually got from professionals here, and I believe it was at the NWFA 2 years ago. Someone suggested that. We loved that idea, so we incorporated that into the new design. Our scientists listen to what you professionals have to say. So at this point, you are ready to just let the Power Mop wood do its thing. We're going to talk about the absorbency of the pad here in just a moment. But the solution is a quick dry formula. It is pH neutral. It is water-based and completely safe for pets and animals as well. You will notice, let me have the old wet jet again, another design improvement here. The head on the Power Mop wood is wider and slimmer than the wet jet. That gives you more cleaning power per swipe. And this is another area in which the reduction in weight actually comes into play as well. We've also given it multi-directional swiveling. This is really nice. You can now turn this thing and move into all kinds of tight spaces, around corners. Which one of us is doing a better job here, Nicole? I don't know. But it does a great job. In fact, look at this. The handle will actually travel all the way to the floor, as Nicole is showing you. It will get underneath all kinds of furniture and at odd angles as well. One particular feature that we like, I saved this kind of for last because it's been getting a lot of rave reviews from people who see it in our booth. If you lift the Power Mop wood just so from the floor, you can use your foot to gently push the head into a vertical position. It will pop and lock there, which means what? Think of a good idea for that? How about baseboards? No more getting on your hands and knees to clean baseboards. Oh, just bring it over here. Or stair risers. That's a thing of the past now. That's a great new feature. So that is, I guess that's about all I can say about the device for the moment. Let's talk about the other part that we haven't really spoken about, and that is the pad itself. I'm going to have Leanna, who's on our team here, pass around one of these pads for you to look at. This is a multi-layer pad. I'll hold it here for the camera to see. What you are looking at here are over 300 gentle glide strips. They have a looped design and lots of absorbent texture. The top layer actually absorbs solution and traps dirt. It also provides for a lot of back and forth movement for scrubbing and reach, of course. The second layer adds a fluffing egg. So it will trap hair and loose soil particles. So you've got hundreds of these strips, thousands of absorbent fibers, which then push deep into hard to reach areas to gently but very effectively clean hard surfaces and floors, right? Then solution travels through to the top layers of the pad and gets locked away inside the core. The bottom line here is that very little solution, if any at all, is left behind on your floor. Again, less is more. We want the surfactants and the polymers and the solvents in the solution to do their job, and then we get them up off the floor as quickly as possible. We're leaving nothing behind, no residue. So I lost my place there. Oh, Absorbency. One of these pads, in fact, is so absorbent it will clean up to 300 more square feet than the older Swiffer wet jet pads. Now, everything I've just shared with you leads up to my favorite series of images that we're going to show you on the screen over here, and that is, this cleans better than a traditional mop and bucket. When we shine a UV light to compare how much dirt is actually left behind versus string and strip mops, look at the series of images over there. The difference is unmistakable. Now, to find out how that is even possible, and this is the biggest selling point for me, find out how that's possible, we have come up with a live demonstration here. We're going to drill a little bit deeper, and Nicole is going to show you exactly how these pads work and how well they work as well. Nicole, you're on.
Okay.
Get this. You're going to use that, right?
I can use either one.
Okay.
So this is a tile, mocked up tile floor. It's a plexiglass floor with grout lines in it. Before you guys got here, I took a mix of dirt and clay that is the same makeup of what you would track in on your feet when you come in from outside. It's an engineered soil. And I squirted it onto the floor directly into the grooves and the grout lines. And I'm going to clean it up now with the Swiffer Power Mop. By simply, and if anyone wants to come up and see it, you're welcome to. I know the camera is there as well. I will say, we are at a wood flooring expo. This is not a wood floor. It is a plexiglass tile floor. That is because it has the deepest grooves and grout lines, and it's sort of that torture test for consumers. As we think about the trends in flooring in your industry, we think about the hand textured floors and how much we're going away from that perfectly sanded, perfectly smooth finish. So I think this is just an example that we thought was relevant, even though it's not directly the same. But I will go ahead and spray it with those headlights. I'll just spray a couple of times and then mop this right up. And I think if anyone can see it from where you're sitting or through the camera, there is nothing left behind in any of these grooves, grout lines at all. That is because of the 300 scrubbing strips that are on the bottom of this. I think what's important though is what happens after, right? What happens when I walk over here and I spray it down and I take the pad and I go and I mop that up. Am I mopping the dirt from over here, over there? That sometimes we worry about. And so this demonstration is gonna show you guys what happens there. So in these cups is the same dirt that I had sprayed down on the floor before you got here. I'm gonna mix one of them into the Swiffer solution right here, and I'm gonna mix the other into just a general all-purpose floor cleaner. And then I will take a couple seconds and stir them up. I'm gonna do these as quickly as I can, but also sort of in a fair way. And then I'll give this Swiffer one more big swirl. And I'm gonna just dump it and pour it right onto the pad. So sort of as if we had mopped up the pad there on the floor the same way that we did. I'm just gonna pour that all right there. It's more than I would use when cleaning my floor, but there we go. We'll give this one the same sort of treatment, one more swirl, and then pour it onto this pad, just sort of the same way. And this is just sort of a standard generic microfiber flat pad, mopping pad. And then I'm gonna come take this one, I'm just gonna fold it, and I'm gonna wring it out right here. And I'm gonna come and do the same and just fold this one in. Wring it out. And I think the difference is pretty clear.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe not as clear in one of these, but the mixture of our solution, its solvents, surfactants, and the soil amalgamating polymers, a word that I always say wrong, lead to really all of the dirt and the stuff being left inside of that pad and not in the water or anywhere on your floor. So that's sort of that example of it does pick it all up, it doesn't put it back down, and that's what leads to that UV test.
Right, I love the image. So to put it in another way, you said it fine, but This is an example of what could get spread around your floor and left behind if you're using something like a string and strip mop. This is what is coming out of a power mop wood pad that was wrung out, right? Much cleaner. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
That explains why. There's the image again, one more time. String and strip mops on the left under a UV light, and then the Swiffer difference on the far right. That's great. Anything else?
No, do you guys have any questions? You took the time to come sit and talk to us. Please feel free to ask. Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Right, so just for posterity purposes, I'm going to repeat what you just said on camera. How much square footage can you expect to clean with the new Power Mop wood pad? Is that what we're talking about?
Our allowed answer is up to 500 square feet per pad. I live in a house without dogs or kids right now, and I can tell you I've stretched a pad a little bit further than that. So
that could also depend on how often you clean floors as well.
Yeah, it's always dependent on how dirty your floor is, how far a pad goes, but the answer that we feel comfortable saying is sort of a standard, lock standard, and by our P&G standards is 500 square feet per pad.
And just as a reminder, it would probably help too if you're using the dry step. We did not mention that up here, but it's always better to begin with the dry step. Pick up with the Swiffer Sweeper Dry versus the Power Mop here. Pick up the loose soil, hair, and dust that's floating on the surface of your floor first with a dry device. That way you're not making mud, you're not risking scratching or abrading the floor with sand and other things as well. Sorry.
No, it's a pre-mixed solution, and that's very intentional. The whole system is designed to clean together, so it is a proprietary formula in the solution. We also, we have talked about what if it was an open system. Vinegar-based solutions, or some of the things people would then put in our device, can corrode the motor, they can break the spray, so you end up with a broken device, and we won't enter that space right now. You looked like you had a question as well.
Yeah. As far as going over hardwood flooring,
Yeah.
and then going to luxury plank or going to a tile, marble, granite, whatever, your liquid you think is good and safe to use on any and all of those?
Yes, we test on all finished floors. So we've tested on everything you just said. We primarily test on urethane-based flooring, but it is safe on all finished hardwood, hard sealed floors. What we have found from consumers is that the wood barrier to entry is the highest. And so while all of our multi-surface devices are safe on wood, consumers really trust you. And they trust all of you who installed the hardwood floors, right? And they're only going to use a wood product. And it makes sense. A new hardwood floor is one of the most expensive purchases a young couple or a new homeowner makes or buys as part of that floor. And so the level of care for it is so much higher that we've found wood really makes a difference for consumers and trust. The wood solution, what's different about it is it has a little more solvent, so it does dry faster. It is our fastest drying solution, and it has less perfume because we know that we just want to leave as little behind as we can. Our other solutions, while safe, they're all water-based, all pH neutral, none leave any behind, have a little bit of added perfume, which for some consumers is a really big benefit. There's actually a lot of nostalgia to cleaning your floors, and a lot of people want it to smell the way it smelled when mom cleaned when they were growing up. I think I said it, but 6 out of 7 young consumers still clean the way their mom's mom cleaned. And so we have a lavender and a fresh scent that we're launching with this that are great for tile. Our multi-surface device also does put out a little bit more solution than the Power Mop wood device. It says a little bit of a finer mist, a little lower dosing to really limit the moisture. So for tile, the multi-surface can get even a little more out there with a little more surfactant coming out. But all of them are safe on tile. I will say that maybe there'll be a tile-specific one down the road, but not at launch.
I was just curious about the wearability of not taking off any finish or leaving any kind of a hue over the surface of the hardwood floor.
Yeah, so we did a major recoat test. It was on wood with a Cincinnati-based installer, NWFA member, where we did a oil and water-based finish and recoat and simulated multiple years of cleaning of the floor, and then tested it through multiple layers with microscopy and topography, and there was nothing left behind. So it does not take off the layers, but we feel really confident and have the testing to back it up. I'm happy to give you my card though and connect you directly with our scientists to talk about any specific finish or specific concern you might have for your floors.
One of your biggest, in the wholesale distribution business for 37 years, one of your major competitors is sold out of Eastern True Value hardware stores. No name mentioned there, of course, but their products, they do have I think they have a break if you're doing the tile versus just doing the hardwood floor. I keep asking this question, I just want to make sure that you can use that liquid on the wood flooring that will not in any way, shape, or form deteriorate or haze over whatever urethane, whether you're using a water or an oil-based polyurethane over that top coat. That won't affect that at all.
That is correct.
Okay. No haze, no glossiness, no satiny.
So
Don't leave anything over.
we test, so we have our scientists, only a certain number of them are allowed to test for streaks, haze, gloss in the labs. They're trained testers, and we do test everything against streaks, haze, like all of the things you're saying. We have our below the consumer noticeability threshold by a fair margin on all of these.
Right? Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Pursuant to what he said, maybe a little more technical, we've got manufacturers in pre-finished wood, everything from a 70 gloss down to a 5 gloss. Have you taken the time to notice whether product alters the appearance? Every demo seems to be on shiny wood, which I would think would show it more. But some of these new real low gloss sheets could also reveal some sheen differences. I wondered if you've had the time to look into that.
It's a really good question. We do test on the high gloss floors because it is the torture test. The two floors we test on are matte black tile and then high gloss wood. And so we get the matte testing not on those low finish wood, but we do test on sort of the two torture tests of floors. So I think that's where we would get the matte testing from, but I think it's a great idea and I'm sure the team would be happy to do it.
The dead flat floor finish
Yeah.
is a hot new look.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know if it would manifest differently on a dead flat floor than on a gloss floor.
We test on the matte flat tile, and that's where we get that.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions for us?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming and taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Yes. It's an exciting innovation. Go ahead.
Power jet wood, is that what you're calling it?
This is the Power Mop wood, yes.
Power mop wood. So to my customers in June, I'm going to recommend that they not buy the Swiffer wet jet, which I have memorized, but the Power Mop wood.
Swiffer Power Mop. So
So only the wood will be called Power Mop.
but the multi-surface and the wood are both called Power Mop. The same way that Wet Jet is Wet Jet and Wet Jet wood.
Going away?
The Wet Jet wood will be replaced by the Power Mop wood in the months to
So
come.
they won't go to one of your retailers and get confused. Still could get confused.
They might get they may, and our Wet Jet wood is a great product. You know, we stand behind it. It cleans great. It cleans with a flat pad, and this has the 3-dimensional pad. It has a lot of great new features. I think it's a lot more fun to use. But if a consumer doesn't want to buy into the price point of this, or if they're happy with their Wet Jet, all of the refills are staying on the shelf. The Wet Jet as a system on the whole is staying on the shelf. We're not going to ask consumers to trade that aren't ready to make the trade.
You're not going to make a smaller pad of that type?
We are not. The pads are not cross-compatible.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Well, if anyone has any other questions, you're welcome to come up. I'm happy to chat. And we're really grateful that you're here and taking the time.